"Hi, sis," Applejack said, smiling. "I thought I heard a car pull up," I said, getting up and hugging my other daughter. Jillian smiled. She had moved back in with her roommate 5 years earlier, and now visited AJ and me a couple times a month. "Nice hat, AJ," Jillian said. Applejack smiled proudly. "Thanks. Daddy said it was Grandpa's." "I thought it looked familiar," Jillian smiled. "It looks really good on you." Applejack giggled. Now her look was complete. But it truly didn't matter to me how she looked. I loved her just the way she was. I'll never forget the day she found out. The day she discovered where she really came from. Jillian and I had talked about it before, and we'd agree that we'd tell Applejack about My Little Pony, but only when we felt she was old enough to understand. I had always wondered what her reaction would be once we told her. After all, we didn't plan on keeping it a secret forever, but I guess over the years we forgot to tell her. We didn't think of her as the Applejack from the show. We thought of her as our Applejack, the mare we raised since she was a filly. So it never really occurred to us anymore to tell her. We had distracted ourselves from the truth for so long, but that day made me wish that we told her long ago. Jillian and I had gone to the store to pick up some food for movie night. Once in a while, when Jillian spent a weekend over with me and AJ, we would have a movie night. And we'd always had popcorn. Lots of popcorn. You'll be surprised how much popcorn a man, a woman, and a young mare can eat. On this particular night, we happened to be completely out of popcorn. So Jillian and I went to the store to pick some up. I felt guilty, as I always did when we had to go somewhere without Applejack. After all, she was just as much as my daughter as Jillian was, and I hated the thought that I could freely take my older daughter out in public with me, but my other daughter was stuck at the house. I knew it was for her own good. We couldn't risk anyone seeing her. Not ever. Of course, Applejack understood this and tried to act like it was no big deal, but I could tell by the look in her eyes wherever Jillian and I had to leave, she longed to go with us. "Dad, she'll be fine," Jillian said as we got in the truck to go to town. "I know, Jill, but I always feel guilty when we have to leave her behind." "I know, I do too. But she understands, and honestly, I think she might enjoy having the house to herself for a little bit. I know I used to like it." I sighed and nodded. I had to admit that it was kind of nice just to ride alongside and have some quality time with my oldest daughter. I couldn't remember the last time we had done something, just the two of us. So, by the time we bought the popcorn and a few fresh apples for AJ, I was in good spirits, not having any inkling of what was going on in the house. Jillian opened the back door, where Tigger came running over to greet us, meowing and winding around our legs as we walked inside. Our other cat, Daisy, the newest addition to our family, didn't move from her spot in my recliner. She only lifted her head to look at us, though her eyes half closed and laid her head back down again. "Ungrateful little beast," Jillian mumbled, smiling as she ruffled the former stray's fur. "Applejack's, we're home, sweetie," I called. Applejack wasn't in her room or in my room, and just when I was starting to wonder where she was, I heard it. Those words I never thought I'd hear again. "Come on, big brother. You need to rest up and get yourself better. I haven't met our apple orchard yet that I can handle." My heart nearly stopped beating. and Jillian looked worried at me as we went into the living room. Applejack was sitting on the couch, staring expressionlessly at the TV screen. I didn't need to look at the screen to know what she was watching. How's she even watching this? I thought to myself as the former Applebuck season episode played before my eyes. I'd always was so careful what AJ watched. I never let her watch the Hub channel. Not ever. Applejack? Jillian started, but Applejack pushed the mute button on the remote and turned to us, the expression crossing her face, making my heart shatter. How long? She asked in a low, accusative tone. Honey, just let's explain, I started, but again my daughter interrupted. How long have y'all known about this? What is this? Is that pony me? Or should I even be asking? She narrowed her eyes at us, and I nearly started crying at the untrusting look in her eyes. How do I know y'all weren't lying to me? Applejack, please. Jillian started, looking not too far from an emotional outburst herself. I want to know the truth, Applejack yelled, jumping from the couch and startling the cats, making them run off in different directions. But I don't think I can trust y'all to tell me the truth. Tears welled up in her eyes. I can't believe you all keep this from me, Applejack yelled, obvious betrayal in her voice. AJ, I stammered. Don't call me that, she yelled. I hate you both. Before Jillian and I could say anything, Applejack shot out the back door and galloped off. Applejack, wait, Jillian yelled, running to the back door with tears streaming down her face. I started after her sister, but I grabbed her arm. Jill, wait. We have to go after her, Dad. I'm going after her, I said. But Dad, stay here, Jillian, in case she comes back. But Dad, I want to. Jillian, stay here, I said sternly. Jillian sighed and nodded, tears streaming down her face. I pulled her into a tight hug. We'll get her back. Don't worry. Jillian nodded against my shoulder, hugging me back. I gave her a sad smile and headed off for the woods behind the house, where Applejack had ran off to. At least I thought she ran off towards the woods. It was hard to tell, because it was already a little dark out. In about 30 minutes or so, it would be pitch black outside. Please don't go too far, Applejack, I mumbled as I entered the woods, the thick trees making it even darker once I was among the trees. Applejack, I called, clapping my hands around my mouth. Applejack, honey, please answer me, please? I walked around through the woods, calling Applejack's name every few yards, hoping, praying that she heard me and would respond. Applejack, I called, feeling my heart pounding in my chest hard, tears welling up in my eyes. After about 15 minutes, my feet were starting to hurt. I could barely see because of the dark, and a light rain had started to fall. It wasn't so bad at first because the trees were keeping most of the rain out, but it didn't take long for a downpour to start. Applejack! I yelled louder than I ever yelled in my life. And then I couldn't hold it anymore. I started to cry softly, letting the tears flow freely as I sat beneath a large tree, slumping back against the trunk. I'm sorry, Applejack, I whispered. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I sighed as the tears streamed down my face, mixing with the rainfall, falling hard now in a steady downpour. I'm such a horrible father, I said, sniffing and rubbing my eyes. No, you're not, a soft voice said. I barely heard it over the din of the rain, but I definitely heard it. Applejack? I looked up just in time to see an orange mare walking toward me, her cowboy hat snagging and her mane and tail in disarray. She was frowning, her eyes were puffy and bloodshot, and I could see that she had been crying for a while. I swallowed hard and motioned for her to sit under the tree with me. She slowly walked over and sat beside me. I'm sorry, Applejack, I said, not able to meet her gaze. I know we should have told you a long time ago. At first we were just going to wait till you were old enough to understand. But after a while, I guess I just sort of forgot where you came from. I never saw a filly that I'd found one day and decided to take home. I slowly looked at her. I always saw my daughter. I sighed, looked down at my muddy shoes. Well, I better get back to Jillian. I'm sorry, I ran away, Applejack said softly. No, don't be sorry, Applejack, I said, getting up and looking down at her. You have nothing to be sorry about. I don't blame you for running away. I'm sure I would have done the same thing in your situation. I was about to say more when Applejack suddenly cried out, Oh, Daddy! I fell to my knees as she tackled me, wrapping her front hooves around my neck in a tight hug. I immediately hugged back, crying again. We stayed that way for what felt like an eternity, and finally I pulled away and stood up. Shall we head home, kiddo? Applejack smiled a bit and nodded. Yeah, Daddy. I nodded and leaned down and picked her up. I sighed and snuggled against. She sighed and snuggled against me, laying her head on my shoulder. I smiled a bit, a few tears still falling down my face as I carried my daughter home. Jillian was sitting on the porch swing when we got back, and she ran to meet us, where we joined in a group hug. Then we all went inside. After Applejack and I dried off, we decided to go ahead and have our movie night. What would you guys like to watch? Jillian asked as she popped the popcorn. Applejack and I were sitting on the couch, blankets wrapped around us since we were still a little cold from the rain. Can we watch the show? Applejack asked slowly. I blinked, not understanding right away what she was talking about. Then I noticed that the Applebuck season episode was still on. Pause. I had forgotten all about it in my haste to find my daughter. Are you sure, AJ? Applejack nodded slowly. Yes, Daddy, I'm sure. Well, Jill, I guess we're watching My Little Pony. Jillian looked unsure but nodded, and once the popcorn was made and Jillian seated on the couch with us, we started the episode over. Applejack asked us questions throughout, and I couldn't say I blamed her. She was extremely curious, and Jillian and I answered all her questions as best as we could. After all, we'd owed it to her to tell her the truth. After the episode was over, she asked us about other episodes and about her role in the show. We talked all about it well into the night, and the girls ended up falling asleep on the couch, snuggling up against each other. I sighed and put the blankets over them before heading off to my bedroom. I flopped down onto my mattress. Tigger and Daisy jumped up onto the bed with me. I sighed and petted them. Their low purring relaxed me and quickly letting me to sleep. The last thing I thought that night was how lucky I was to have such a close, wonderful family. 15 years. 15 amazing years. My daughters were growing up so fast. Jillian was 35 and had a job as a horseback riding instructor at the local stable. She loved it, especially when she got to work with kids. She also had a boyfriend, Christian. Applejack had yet to meet him. We were unsure if we were ready for him to know about her. Applejack, my dear sweet AJ. She was all grown up and pretty much taking over for me as far as tending the farm went. I wasn't exactly a spring chicken, and I had given her full responsibility for the animals. She didn't mind. She loved farm work, although sometimes she complained about cleaning out the chicken coops. But she did her work well, and I even paid her for it. Of course, she wasn't actually able to spend the money herself. Jillian or I always had to buy things for her, but I figured it made her feel proud and accomplished if she worked hard and got paid for it. It amazed me sometimes that Jillian and I had been blessed with such a wonderful young mare. I had I had quit trying to figure out Applejack's purpose here long ago. It didn't matter to me anymore why she was here or how exactly she had gotten here. She was my daughter, and I loved her with all my heart. One day I was excited. I called Jillian, my heart beating fast. Hello? From all the sound in the background, I guessed Jillian was outside. Hey, sweetheart. Hey, Dad. Tell your dad I said hi, I heard Christian say. Jillian snickered. Chris says hi, Dad. I chuckled. Tell him I said hi too. So, to what do I owe this call? Well, I have something exciting to tell you. What is it? I smiled as I held the brochure in my hand. I'm going to a rodeo next week. Really? That sounds fun, Dad. Yeah, I'm taking your sister with me. What? Jillian suddenly sounded worried. But, Dad, you know we can't. Relax, Jill. I have a plan, I said, knowing Jillian would worry about her sister right off the bat. AJ will be in the bed of the back seat of the truck the whole time, I explained, and I have a blanket back there that she can hide under if anyone passes by the windows close enough to be able to see inside. I don't know, Dad. Jillian sounded skeptical. Hey, you trust your old man, right? So you admit you're old. I could practically hear the smirk on my oldest daughter's face. Okay, you're a young man then. You trust me, right? Jillian laughed. Of course, Dad. I'm sure she'd love the rodeo. Have fun. I will. I haven't told her about it yet. I'm going to surprise her. Great. Call me later and tell me her reaction. I nod. Okay, honey. Love you. Love you too, Dad. Bye. I hung up my phone and smiled, heading for Applejack's room. She had decided to take a nap before we went to check on the animals. My smile widened when I saw her curled up on her bed, asleep. Her cowboy hat was hooked on one of the bedposts, and Daisy was curled up asleep at the foot of the bed. I slowly walked over and gently shook her shoulder. Applejack, I said softly. Hey, Jay. She groaned and slowly opened her eyes, lifting her head up to look at me. Hey, Daddy, she said, yawning. Hey, sweetheart, I said, smiling. I have something for you. Well, really, for both of us. I showed her the brochure for the rodeo. Applejack gasped. Her emerald eyes widened. A rodeo? We're really going? I nodded. Yep, next week. I'll park my truck far enough away from the others, and we'll sit inside and watch the rodeo from there. Oh, Daddy, thank you! Applejack hugged me. I laughed and hugged her back. You're welcome, sweetheart. I brushed her forelock aside and kissed her on the forehead, like I used to do when she was a filly. She giggled and hugged me tighter. I couldn't wait for next week. I was excited about the rodeo as Applejack was. Of of course she had to call her sister and tell her all about it. I was happy that I found something that she and I could go out and do together. If we had to be careful about anyone seeing us, I knew it would be worth it, though, in the end. I lay in bed that night with happy thoughts, anticipating the rodeo as much as Applejack. Next week is going to be great, I thought as I drifted off to sleep. The next morning I woke up in good spirits. I was surprised, and more than a little startled, when I went into the kitchen and saw Christian sitting at the kitchen table. He smiled sheepishly when he saw me. Hi, he said. I blinked and noticed Jillian was at the counter, cleaning up some dishes. She smiled. Morning, Dad. Morning, I said, moving to sit at the table across from Christian. So, what are you two doing here so early? Oh, just thought we'd drop by and say hi. Jillian started, but she looked nervous. Jill, what's wrong? Christian asked, moving to stand beside her, putting his hand on her shoulder. Christian, I need to talk to my dad for a sec. Christian looked concerned, but nodded. He kissed Jillian on the cheek before he headed off for the living room. Once he was gone, I turned to my oldest daughter. Jillian, what's the matter? You look very nervous. Jillian sighed. I think it's time. I blinked. Time for Christian to meet Applejack. My eyes widened. What? Jillian, we've talked about this. Dad, Christian and I have been dating for almost 4 years, and he's never met my sister. Heck, he doesn't even know I have a sister. She sighed. Dad. She smiled a bit. I love him. And I'm tired of keeping AJ a secret. We can trust him. I know we can, she sighed, looking into her eyes. I sighed, looking into her eyes. I knew she'd trust Christian. I did too. He was a great guy, and it didn't exactly take a rocket scientist to see that he dearly cared for Jillian. I sighed again, rubbing the back of my neck. Maybe you're right, Jill. Where's Applejack? She's in her room, probably. Still asleep. I'll go get her. Before I could say anything, Jillian headed off toward Applejack's room. Christian came back in the kitchen, looking confused. Sir? I chuckled a little. Christian had usually called me sir, even though I'd known him for 4 years. Is everything all right? I nodded. Yes, Christian, but, come into the living room. There's someone we would like for you to meet. Christian blinked, looking confused as we went into the living room. A few minutes later, Jillian came back over, looking nervous. Christian, she sighed, brushing a hand through her hair. There's something I need to tell you. Something I've wanted to tell you for a while, but, well, it's a big secret. A huge secret, and, well, I just never knew how you would react. Christian looked worried, and I laughed. Don't worry, it's nothing bad, but you have to promise. Promise us you won't tell anyone, ever. Sure, I guess. Well, Christian, I have a little sister. Christian looked surprised. A sister? What's the big secret about that? Well, my sister is different. Very different from everyone else. I'm not going to judge her if that's what you think, Christian said, sounding almost hurt. No, Chris, it's nothing like that, Jillian said. It's just that no one else knows about my sister. No one else can ever know about her. So just please promise us that you'll never tell. Christian nodded. All right. I won't ever tell anyone. Good. Jillian smiled a bit. Well, I'll go get her then. She turned and went to Applejack's room. After about a minute, my daughters came out of the living room. I looked at Christian. His eyes widened as soon as he saw Applejack. I held my breath and suddenly wondered if we were making a huge mistake. Christian, this is my sister, Applejack. AJ, this is my boyfriend, Christian. Applejack looked nervous as she approached the man. Nice to meet you, she stammered. Christian looked shocked. It's nice to meet you too, he stammered slowly. Jillian sat beside him and quickly started to explain everything to him. Soon the three of us were telling him about our lives over the past 15 years. Christian looked shocked for at least 45 minutes before he slowly started to relax a bit. After about an hour, he seemed to sort of accept the fact that there was a cartoon pony sitting in the living room. Well, this is quite a shock, he said once we were done telling him our story and he ran out of questions for us. Chris, you're not mad, are you? Jillian asked nervously. Mad? Why would I be mad? I'm shocked as heck, but I'm not mad. I understand why you kept her a secret for so long. It would be hard for me too. He took Jillian's hand in his. But I'm so glad you decided to let me meet her. Jillian smiled, looking relieved. I'm happy to hear you say that. I was afraid that... She hesitated. I was afraid that once you found out, you'd be so freaked out that you'll break up with me. What? Christian looked almost insulted. Jill, I never break up with you. Certainly not because of this. He smiled slightly. Jillian hugged him. Applejack and I looked at each other, smiling. Isn't he great, Daddy? She asked, laying against me. I nodded, putting my arm around her. Yeah, sweetheart, it's wonderful. Things were great. Better than great. They were perfect. It had been 3 weeks since I'd let Christian in on our family secret, and now it was almost as if he'd known all along. He and Applejack got along surprisingly well, and Jillian and I couldn't have been happier. But as it usually goes, something always seems to come up when everything is getting perfect. One day, the day before the rodeo, I was making some iced tea for Applejack, who was resting on the couch after feeding the animals. Then it happened. That feeling. The feeling that something was about to happen. I couldn't tell if it was good or bad. Just a feeling that something was going to happen. Something inevitable. When I heard a knock on the door, I was a little surprised. Jillian and Christian usually knock and then open the door and greet me before coming in. But there was just one knock. One small knock. Had I not been in the kitchen, I wouldn't have probably heard it. Applejack heard it too, lifting her head from where she was lying against the pillow. AJ, why don't you go in your room? Sure thing, Day, AJ said, getting up and trying off to her room. It was our policy for whenever someone knocked on the door. Applejack would go to her room because we couldn't risk anyone finding out about her. I slowly approached the door, my heart beating nervously. I slowly reached out and stopped. Don't open it, part of me was saying. Don't do anything. Let them think you're not home. But the rational part of me was telling me to open the door. And in the end, the rational part won. With a slightly shaking hand, I opened the door, my breath hitching at what I saw. A full-size white mare was standing before me. She had flowing, sparkling. She had a flowing, sparkling mane with a unicorn horn protruding from her forehead. Elegant wings were folded against her sides, and a crown was perched on her head. No, I thought, but I knew that this day would come. I've known for 15 years that it would happen one day. I was also surprised to see 6 other ponies standing around the princess. Twilight Sparkle looked unsure of what to say. Excuse me, sir, but we're looking for a friend of ours. Suddenly, a pink streak zipped by and bounced into my entryway. Oh boy, so this is what an alien house looks like. Pinkie Pie giggled. It's so cool. Much cleaner than I expected. And, oh, there's a kitchen. I'll make us some snacks. Before anyone could say anything, Pinkie bounced gleefully into the kitchen. I sighed, not bothering to go after her. Rainbow Dash sighed and rolled her eyes. I'll keep an eye on her, she mumbled, walking past me into the kitchen. I blinked, then turned back to the mare I knew would be Princess Celestia. I'm a bit surprised, she said, with her soft, almost charming voice. You don't seem surprised by our presence. No, I stammered. Of course not. I know who you are. Oh. Celestia looked surprised. Yeah, so how can I help you? I knew perfectly well why they were there, and I wanted so desperately to go away, even though I knew it was hopeless. We're here for our friend Applejack, Twilight said. After much studying, I deduced that she'd I've deduced that she was somewhere in this universe, in this exact spot. I wanted so much to say, sorry, I don't know what you're talking about, and just shut the door in their faces, but I knew I couldn't do that. It was inevitable. I sighed, frowning. She's in here. Really? Celestia looked surprised. I nodded. Yeah. Come on in. I slowly opened the door a little more and stepped aside. Princess Celestia walked in with Twilight, Fluttershy, and Rarity. Let's go into the living room, I said slowly. The ponies followed me. Celestia lay on the large rug that covered most of the living room floor. Rarity, Fluttershy sat on the couch, and Twilight went into the kitchen and brought Rainbow and Pinkie Pie into the room. Sir, Rarity asked, where exactly is Applejack? She's in her room. The ponies all looked surprised when I said her room. I'll go get her. I felt my heart hammering hard in my chest as I slowly walked into my daughter's room. I went over to where she was lying on her bed watching TV. It was ironic that she was watching My Little Pony. She had gotten used to the show and enjoyed it quite a bit. She looked up at me when I came in and frowned. Daddy, what's wrong? I swallowed hard. Applejack? I quickly told her who was in the living room, and I was surprised when she bust into giggles. She thinks I'm kidding, I thought. Oh, hey, that's a good one. I almost believed you there for a second. Her giggles died down when she saw that I wasn't laughing. Daddy, you are joking, aren't you? I sighed. AJ, just... Come with me, sweetheart. Applejack nodded slowly, putting the show on pause before getting off her bed and following me into the living room. Her eyes widened when she saw the other ponies. Their faces lit up. Applejack! Pinkie Pie cried, tackling her friend with a hug. Oh my gosh, we've missed you so much! Hey, what's the big idea? AJ yelled, pushing Pinkie Pie off her. What the heck? Pinkie frowned, her mane and tail instantly straightened. Applejack, she stammered, almost like she might burst into tears. Darling, don't you recognize us? Rarity asked, looking confused. No, I've never seen y'all except for on the TV. You're not supposed to be real. A look of hurt flashed across the other ponies' faces. AJ? I started sighing. Sit down, honey. I sat in my recliner, and she immediately sat by my feet, looking at the other ponies. I don't understand, Twilight said. Why is she acting so weird? How long has she been gone? I asked. 15 days, Rainbow said. My eyes widened. 15 days? Yes, why? You seem shocked. You seem shocked, Celestia said. She's been here a lot longer than 15 days. How long? Rarity asked. I sighed. 15 years. The ponies' mouths fell open. 15 years? Rainbow Dash cried. I nodded. Yes, I found her when she was just a filly. I was no math whiz, but I guessed that one day in their universe must have equaled 1 year in the real world. No wonder she doesn't recognize us, Twilight said. That's the one thing I never understood, though, I said. Why was she so young? And how she even got here in the first place? Rainbow suddenly looked guilty. That's my fault, she said softly, her ears drooping. You? She nodded. Yes, she sighed, looking at Applejack. We were all at Twilight's place. Lately, she's been experimenting with creating portals. Twilight nodded. Nothing too major, just portals that led to different parts of Ponyville. We were there waiting for Twilight to finish with a potion so we could go on a picnic that we've been planning, Rarity said. I was getting bored, Rainbow Dash said, looking guiltier by the second. Applejack was standing there by Twilight, watching her work. So I thought, she swallowed, I thought it would be funny to prank her. It wasn't funny at all, Fluttershy said softly from her spot on the couch. Rainbow sighed. I just was going to startle her a little, though I thought she wouldn't mind. She bit her lip. So I snuck up behind her and jumped behind her, yelling really loud. She jumped all right, but she lost her balance and fell backward, right into my portal, Twilight said. We tried to get her back, but the portal closed before we could do anything. And we've been trying for days to figure out where she'd gone, Pinkie said. We thought we would never find her. But then I recognized the place that the portal led to, which was here, Twilight said. I sighed. It makes sense, except why was she a filly when I found her? That was most likely some side effect of Twilight Sparkle's magic, Celestia said. Applejack blinked, looking nervously at me. Daddy, what happens now? I bit my lip, my heart beating hard in my chest. Well, Applejack, Celestia hesitated. You have to come back with us to Ponyville. What? Applejack yelled, shaking her head. Oh, no way. This is my home. I have a family here. I have a life. No way I'm going to give that up. Applejack, dear, you don't belong in this world, Rarity said. Twilight nodded. Yes, I know it's hard to believe now, but Y'all are nuts if you think I'm going anywhere with you all, Applejack cried. Applejack, they're right, I said, swallowing hard. AJ looked at me. What, Daddy? Think about it, sweetie. You have no freedom here. Not really. We always have to be so careful that no one sees you. But with them, you can be free to go wherever you want. You'll be with other ponies. I don't want to be with other ponies. I belong here with you and Jillian. Twilight blinked. Jillian? Her sister, I said quietly, realizing with a start that my other daughter had no idea what was going on right now. Please, before we talk about this anymore, can I please call my other daughter? Celestia looked hesitant. Please, she needs to be here. Celestia nodded. Of course. My heart hammered in my chest as I dialed Jillian's cell number. Hello? Christian, I sighed. Is Jillian there? It's important. Yeah, of course. Hold on a sec. I heard talking in the background, and then Jillian's voice flooded through the phone. Hey, Dad, what's up? I sighed. Jill, you need to come over right away. Why? Is there something wrong? Jillian, please, just get over here. Okay, Dad. We'll be over soon. Jillian sounded worried as we hung up. She'll be here soon, I said quietly, more to AJ than to anyone else. Applejack nodded, looking upset. We sat in awkward silence for a while we waited. Occasionally, one of the ponies would ask Applejack about her life. She answered hesitantly, as though she couldn't quite trust the other ponies. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the door opened, and Christian and Jillian came in. Dad, what's going... Jillian started when her eyes widened when she saw the pony-filled living room. Jillian! Applejack tackled her sister with a hug. Jillian immediately hugged her back, looking confused and shocked. Christian had a similar expression on his face. What's going on? He asked slowly. They're going to take me away, Applejack said, hugging Jillian tighter. Jillian's eyes widened. Twilight and the ponies quickly explained about how AJ had gotten here and their theory about why she arrived as a filly. So, Jillian said slowly, you guys want AJ to go back to Ponyville? It's where she belongs, Celestia said. Jillian and I looked at each other. Dad, I swallowed. I think she needs to go with them. What? Dad! Jill, listen. I said, it's like I told your sister. She's better off with them. Jillian sighed, swallowing as tears welled up in her eyes. Applejack looked at her hopefully, probably thinking her sister would take her side. Dad's right, Applejack, she said softly. It's getting harder and harder for me and Dad to hide you. She brushed a few hairs from her face, and Christian put his hand on her shoulder. You belong with other ponies, AJ, he said quietly. No, I belong here with you. You all are my family. Applejack, Celestia said, you must come with us. I'm truly sorry. Applejack looked at the princess. I could tell by the look on her face that she was thinking, and thinking hard. After what seemed like an eternity, she spoke. Can they come with me? I'm afraid not, my dear. Celestia said. They do not belong in our world, just as you don't belong here. Applejack sighed, looking defeated. I'll have to perform a spell that will... Twilight hesitated. That will remove all tracks of her existence from here. Wait! What? Why? Christian asked. No one can ever find out that she was here, Celestia said. We can't risk anyone finding even the smallest trace of her existence. She's right, I said softly. We can't risk anyone finding out AJ was even real. Jillian nodded slowly, a few tears streaming down her face. Christian squeezed her shoulder, comforting. It won't hurt, Twilight said, her horn glowing as she approached Applejack. Celestia's horn began to glow too as she walked towards me, Jillian, and Christian. Wait! I cried, making both mares stop. Please, can we just have a minute to say goodbye? Celestia nodded as she and Twilight backed away. Of course. I sighed and stood from my chair. Jillian knelt in front of her sister. Applejack, she said, you are the best sister anyone could ever ask for. She smiled. I can still remember the first day Dad brought you here home. The Dad brought you home. I always knew you were brought to us for a reason. You brought us so much happiness and joy in our lives. You've been such an angel. And we've been so blessed to have you in our lives. She swallowed again, tears streaming down her face. I love you so much, and she stroked AJ's forelock, running her fingers through her blonde mane. No matter what happens, you will always be my little sister. Applejack sobbed, and my daughters hugged tightly. I felt a lump in my throat as they pulled apart. Jillian kissed her sister's forehead and smiled, sadly, through her tears as she slowly stood and moved to stand beside me. Christian slowly knelt down by Applejack. AJ? He chuckled a little, and I could see his eyes brimming with tears. I know I'm not as close to you as your sister or your dad, but you're really special, and I'm going to miss you a lot. He put his hand on her shoulder. Take care of my sister, Christian, she said softly. Applejack said softly. I will. I really love Jill a lot. Jillian's smile widened a bit as she linked her hand through mine. She really loves you too, Applejack said. They slowly leaned forward and hugged. Take care, Applejack, Christian said. I will, Applejack said quietly. She and Christian pulled apart. He moved to stand beside Jillian, taking her hand in his. I sighed and swallowed as I slowly approached my daughter and knelt in front of her, trying to keep my emotions in check. Daddy, I'm scared, AJ said. I nodded slowly. I know, honey. I am too. But you have to be strong. He'll be all right. I sighed. Applejack, I could go on forever about how much you mean to me and how much you've impacted our family. I smiled through the tears that were welling in my eyes. You've been such a wonderful, amazing daughter, and I love you very much. I reached down and ran my fingers through her forelock. I always knew this day would come. I wished it wouldn't, but I knew that it would. I just savored the time we had together, the time all of us had. I glanced at Christian and Julian. Then I turned back to Applejack. No matter what happens, I will always be your father. And I'll always be your daughter, Applejack breathed, swallowing as tears brimmed in her eyes. I love my life here, Daddy. I wouldn't trade the life we've had for anything. And even though you kept the truth a secret for a long time, I know it was just because you were trying to protect me. I nod. I love you, AJ. I always will. I'll always love you too, Daddy. I heard soft sniffling and turned. There wasn't a dry eye in the whole room. By the time the cats came into the living room to see what was going on, Applejack hugged each of them and told them goodbye, then turned back to me. Goodbye, Daddy, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. I sighed and pulled her into a hug. Goodbye, my little AJ, I whispered, sobbing quietly as we hugged. I felt arms wrap around me as Jillian and Christian joined in the hug. The four of us stand that way for what seemed like forever. Applejack, Celestia said gently, it's time to go, dear. Applejack sighed and took a deep breath. Twilight approached her, her horn glowing again, when Applejack suddenly pulled back. Wait, I need to get something first. Before anyone could say anything, AJ ran into her room. I leaned forward to look in as she saw her take a piece of paper and a pencil and started writing something, holding the pencil firmly in her mouth. After writing something on the paper, she came back and set the paper on the coffee table, giving Jillian and me a long look before she took a deep breath and turned to Twilight. I'm ready now. Twilight nodded. I'm truly sorry, she said, looking at all of us. I wish there was another way. I truly do. Her horn started to glow once more as she leaned toward AJ. Celestia walked over to Christian, Julian, and me. Take care of my sister, Jillian said. Celestia nodded. We will. She smiled sadly as her horn began to glow. I could feel the warmth radiating from it as she leaned closer to us. Her horn aimed at our foreheads. Out the corner of my eye, I saw Applejack turn toward us, giving me a sad smile. I sent her one in return as she turned back to Twilight, the purple unicorn's horn almost touching her forehead. After a few seconds, a bright light flashed, covering the whole room. I felt a slight shock, and when the light faded, the ponies, the princess, were gone. Jillian, Christian, and I slowly looked at each other. You guys okay? I asked slowly. They nodded. Yeah, Jillian said, but I don't get it. What? I still remember her. My eyes widened. I do too. So do I, Christian said. But I thought Celestia wiped our memories, Jillian said, shaking her head. I thought so too, Christian said. I quickly ran into AJ's room. All her stuff was gone. Her posters, the DVDs I bought her over the years, her books, games, everything. The TV was still there, and everything that had been in that room prior to me finding Applejack. But everything that had been added since then was gone. Dad! Jillian cried. I ran back into the living room. All the pictures of me, Jillian, and AJ that had been throughout the house were all gone. Celestia had been right. every single trace of Applejack's existence was gone. But how can we still remember her? Christian asked. How can we still remember everything that happened? Maybe, Jillian said slowly, maybe that was all that could remain. Celestia knew how much we loved Applejack. Maybe she trusted us enough to allow us to keep our memories. I nod. You're probably right, honey. Guys, look. Christian picked up a piece of paper from the table, the one Applejack had left. I felt like my heart was going to stop beating as I slowly took the paper from him and unfolded it, in AJ's handwriting. Or mouth writing, I guess you could all call it. Was a letter addressed to me. I brushed away tears as I began to read the letter. Daddy, I don't entirely understand, but I know that you wouldn't be making me do this if you didn't think it was best for me. So I trust your decision and I will go with the other ponies, even if I don't really know them. But I do trust you. And so I know that this must be the right decision. The fact that I will never see you again makes me want to run out the back door and refuse to go with those ponies. But the thing is, I have that feeling that this is right. I don't want to believe this, but my heart is telling me this will happen no matter what. Even if I refuse to go with them, I know it's no use in fighting it. I feel that despite what my head says, my heart is telling me to go with them. I will miss you so much, Daddy. You, Christian, and Jillian, you all are my family. You will always be my family, even though I probably won't remember you once I'm gone. But I'm not even sure that you'll be able to read this letter, but I'm hoping it will be allowed to remain here. You all taught me so much. It's because of you that I got my cutie mark. You taught me to never give up and always keep trying, and that is something I know I will always remember. I love you all so much. When I return to wherever those ponies will take me, I won't remember you possibly, but deep in my heart, you will continue to linger. All our happy memories will float in my head. That will be invisible, but they will still be there. I love you, Daddy. I love you so much, even though by the time you've read this, I'll already be gone. I still love you no matter what. Our love is too strong for it to completely fade away. Take care of Jillian and the animals, and make sure Christian takes good care of Jillian. I have a feeling for a while now that their relationship is going to grow into something even more. Well, Daddy, in spite of things, I didn't want to keep those ponies from waiting. No use in prologuing the inevitable. To end this, I want to say goodbye. Goodbye. I want to say goodbye is not forever. One day, we'll meet again, I know it, even though it doesn't sound possible at the moment. But, hey, things change every day. I know I said it once already in this letter, but I'll say it again. I love you, Daddy. I always will. Even though I won't remember you, I'll always remember the life lessons you taught me. Love, your daughter always, Applejack. Your little AJ. I felt tears in my eyes as I finished the letter. I handed it to Jillian. She and Christian read it too, and soon the three of us were sitting on the couch, just sitting and thinking. each in our each our own thoughts. We sat there for a while before Christian decided it was time to head home. I guess I'll come back after I drive Christian home, Jillian said. I nodded and we hugged. I love you, Dad. I smiled a little. I love you too, honey. I walked outside with the two of them and I watched as they got in Jillian's car and drove off. So many thoughts were floating in my head, thoughts of Applejack and our life together. I wondered what she was doing right then. Was she reuniting with Granny Smith and Big Macintosh? Was she having an adventure with her friends? I looked up at the sky and smiled a little. I will always love Applejack, and I will always treasure the memories of the time we had together. My thoughts then drifted to the letter. Applejack said that we would meet again someday. I could only hope that we would, even though I was certain that she only written that to try to soften the emotional blow. I love you, Applejack, I whispered, a few tears streaming down my face. I'll always remember my darling daughter and all the joy she brought into my life. I will love her forever. Applejack. My little AJ. The end.